Hey guys, how's it going? Tony here, Black Hills Mommy. It has been a little while since I have done an update on our adoption process and where we're at with all of that. I figured I would actually take a few minutes. I'm waiting for Sean right now, and I would love to do this video with him, but his summer schedules are just crazy. So I'm actually waiting on him right now to pick him up from having a truck serviced, and then we have a meeting with the adoption agency today. Okay, so that's a little news there. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. First, I want to say we are officially done with updating our home study. We are official for one more year, which is awesome. It was a tough decision, and I think I did another video on that. I think I uploaded it. There's been a few videos I've done that I actually ended up not uploading for various reasons. And anyhow, I at least did an update video explaining that we were really weighing whether or not to do the update on our home study. That it was multifold. But you know, a year of rejections really takes a toll on people. In fact, I was doing the numbers with our worker last week and got to looking at the statistics. Through one website alone, we had inquired on over 40 profiles. Those are not individual kids. Some of them are, but there were several sibling groups too. Through all of the websites we've inquired on over 50 profiles. Of those, there's about a rate of replies, which means that of all of the kids or profiles that we inquired on, only about half of the workers actually replied to us. Of the half that did, some of them were upfront refusals. Some of them, or the majority of them, were actually requests for our home study. Then from there, of the ones who requested our home study, there was again about a 50-50 breakdown of those who replied to it. Actually, no, it was less than 50%. I want to say we were somewhere between 20 and 30% actually of those who even replied, most of which were rejections. The 50% was because there were updates in that child's case that gave us an answer. So some of the kids we sent our profile or sent our home study in on, their profile switched to placement pending, which told us we had not been selected. We were just never told until that moment, which, you know, that happens. At least we found that out. There are a lot of kids that we've inquired on that still sit active in the system. They're just sitting in foster care waiting, and they will probably never know that somebody even tried. So it was getting really discouraging. So we debated on that. Plus there's the money factor. Right at the time our renewal was due, we actually had very small progress on the legal side of our kitchen. If you haven't seen that video or those videos, we moved into a new house last fall. A month after moving in, we discovered some significant mold in the kitchen after getting a mold remediation company to come in. They verified just how bad it was, and it actually was under the entire kitchen floor and required the bottom half of the kitchen to be ripped out. And there was evidence that this was known by the sellers. Anyhow, so that prompted us. We're not litigious people, but we did hire a lawyer. We've gone back and forth between the two lawyers. We were finally to a point where everybody's like, you know what? Let's go to mediation. Except mediation, there's no set expense. And it really came down to, do we pay for the home study update or do we pay for mediation? The truth of it is, once we go to mediation, these people who have said some very colorful things to us through their attorney, they can choose not to pay. And if they do that, then we actually have to take them to court again and sue them. Now, at that point, yes, we could sue for legal fees and all that too. But by the time we pay for everything, there's a good chance we're going to pay the cost of the kitchen a second time in order to get that first amount back. So we really had to start weighing things. There's still a chance we might in the future. In fact, there's a high chance, because our lawyer said that this is still new enough. As far as statute of limitations, we've got plenty of time. So we decided to focus on the home study, get that done so that we were refreshed, renewed, everything we needed to be, because there were several kids we already had inquiries out on. We would have to pull them because our home study was going to expire. We couldn't just come back and do this in 6 months or something. It was now or never. So that's what we did. We renewed our home study. It's a fairly quick, painless process. As far as all of that goes, it's not nearly as intensive as the initial home study is, but it still does take some time, some effort, and money. So all of that said, we finished all of that, I believe, last week. We turned the last few things in. And I'm assuming today when we go to the adoption agency that our worker is going to have the new copy for us, so that, because we end up sending that to a lot of agencies because there's some encryption issues with our agency. Anyhow, while there though, we are having a conversation with the Safe Families Director. So there's our other new news. For those of you who don't know, which honestly is most people, we did not know what the Safe Families program was prior to starting all of this either. So we've been hearing about it over the last year and finally started asking more questions. We talked about it, prayed about it, and today we meet with our adoption worker as well as the Safe Families Director, coordinator, I'm not really sure, honestly, but that person. So I guess what I was starting to say is the explanation of what it is. The Safe Families program is like a private foster care. Rather than the children having been forcibly removed from the home for any number of issues, these are children who are voluntarily placed by their families in moments of crisis. There are so many different types, but just some basics are, sudden unexpected homelessness. That way there's a safe place for the kids to stay while mom, dad, whoever figures out what they're going to do for housing. One story I had read was about a mom whose house had burned down and she had to figure out where they were going to live. So this gave her children a safe place to stay while she did what she needed to until they could get into a new house. Severe illness, especially if a single parent who does not have a support system ends up in the hospital for some reason or something like that. This is a safe place for the kids to be taken care of so they don't have to worry about them until they can be better. Now, if it's going to be terminal, then that's a whole other thing, and they do work with that as well. There's so many different things. If a parent is aware that they have a problem and decides to enter rehab, that's another scenario, which also means that this is a parent who is willing to admit that up front rather than waiting until the state steps in and says, look, you got a drug problem or drinking problem or whatever, and your kids are coming with us until you can prove you do better. So that's what it is. They're typically short-term placements. If you, a really while back, I had done a video about being a birth child in a foster home and what exactly that meant. I am not an advocate for doing foster care when you have littles in the home. I grew up as a birth child in a foster home. I have a lot of stories I can tell, but it's just one of those safety things that not everybody fully thinks about or realizes until they get into it and it's too late. But anyhow, because this is a slightly different situation, these are definitely temporary. These are voluntary placements. These are not kids who have seen quite the same type of trauma. This is something, after talking and praying, we did decide that we would give it a try. It's also something that we can 100% say, oh, wait, you know what? This is not quite what we thought it was, and back out. So I will keep you guys posted on how that part of the journey goes as we get going with it. There is a small chance that we will actually have a placement this week already. So we'll see. We've talked to the kids. They are aware that we will have new friends come and stay with us from time to time. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting adventure. So there it is. We are official for another year to adopt. Oh, and that's the other thing we're talking with our worker and the Safe Families coordinator today is how this is going to look as far as being a safe family while also being an adoptive home. Because if we get a placement that can actually affect any children who are in the Safe Families program in our home, so we all have to like sit down and hash that out as far as what it's going to look like and what that will mean for any kids coming and going from our home. So I don't know. In fact, I may do another video on that once I know. We'll see. They may tell me that they don't want me to do that. So if you don't see it, I'm sorry. But I do abide by the rules on all that kind of stuff, which also means you will never see any of those kiddos in my videos. I have to be very careful about that. So there it is. We are going to keep on this journey. We are continuing to inquire. In fact, I've got a list of profiles that I'm going over with the worker today to see if any of them need to be removed from the list for things in their profile that I cannot see, or if she gives us the green light, we can go ahead and inquire on them as well, and we'll see what happens. Right now, we are primarily looking in South Dakota and Texas. I know that's really random, right? We were looking across the entire country. We really were. And as time went on, projects on the house went on and stuff, our bank account has dwindled more than we care for. How do I say this really? Honestly, every state varies as far as what they do and do not provide. A lot of states give a one-time adoption assistance, which helps to pay some of Bethany's fees, can help pay for the lawyer, that kind of thing. But it varies greatly. There is a federal cap of $2,000 on that. There's some states that don't do it at all. There's some states that only do a few $100s. We really have to take all of that into account when we are figuring out where we're looking. And it's kind of heartbreaking because that means that there's kids that we could probably provide an amazing home for that we can't afford to inquire on right now. And it is what it is. So narrowing things down. Okay, so completely cutting this in the middle. I was about to end it after, saying that we are sticking to South Dakota and Texas because of the cost of everything. Since South Dakota will cover most everything because of the adoption assistance upfront cost, and that they do the post-placement visits, so we would really only have the expense of the attorney. But also there is some sort of agreement or contract. I don't know that it's between the state of South Dakota and the state of Texas, but I think it's between Bethany and the state of Texas. Anyhow, it also makes Texas very doable. So that's why we're sticking to those two states for now. And as I was doing this, part of why I cut in between is he showed up. So I could have waited.
Distractions.
Yeah. So I'm sorry if that seemed really disjointed. It's all his fault.
Typically.
But anyhow, so that is what it is. And I guess I probably could have waited to do this video with him then, but we actually have to get going. We got to put gas in the beast. The sparkly beast. I've named it.
I like Silver Bullet better.
Gray Wolf.
I could handle that.
We should do a whole video on just naming our van. So anyhow, we're going to go put gas in this thing and then get over to the agency so we can talk to them. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay. I hope you guys are having a blessed day. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything else, and we'll see you in the next one.